Hello there, fellow cultists. This is DM and I am back with another episode of Shadow of the Demon Lord Talk, and that's what we do. We talk about Shadow of the Demon Lord, and by we, I mean me, because it's just me and you, whoever happens to be watching the video. So what I plan on talking about today is actually a follow-up to my last video, which was talking about Foundry and the virtual tabletop and using it for a Shadow of the Demon Lord game. Now, I said in my last video at the end that I would be waiting until I had actually run a session before posting a follow-up, but I lied. And the reason why I lied is because I didn't realize it was going to be so long before I get to run a game again. So I probably won't be running a game for at least a month. And as a result, that'll delay my feedback regarding this virtual tabletop. But I don't want to wait that long, and I have been playing with this in preparation for my campaign. So I thought I would go ahead and just make some additional thoughts or capture some additional thoughts here about the virtual tabletop and how it could work for your Shadow of the Demon Lord game, how I anticipate it'll work for mine. Okay, so first of all, I want to just say that the virtual tabletop has tons of support videos out there, and I don't intend to go over every bell and whistle of the application. I'm just really kind of going over what I need for a Shadow of the Demon Lord game. And so that is the purpose of these videos, is just to make it, kind of focus on just the running of a Shadow of the Demon Lord game on this virtual tabletop, and not all the ins and outs of Foundry. There's plenty of other videos out there that will do that for you. Trust me, I've seen most of them, and so I recommend that you go out and check the YouTubes for those things. So one thing I did want to mention before I actually go into the application itself is that I have selected the option of running Foundry on a online server. So I think I mentioned this in my last video. Foundry can be self-hosted, meaning that you have your players dial into your PC or whatever PC you have hosting the software, and you can just run the game directly from your PC. However, in my research, I learned that you have to have some decent internet speeds in order for that to work well, especially upload speeds. And sadly, I'm maxed out on my on what I can have here in my area, and so I think it would be probably not the best user experience if I tried to host it from my own computer. So I decided to go with a virtual tabletop hosting platform called The Forge. And again, I'm not going to go through all the bells and whistles of The Forge either, but I just wanted to let you know that this is the option that I chose, simply because I want my game to be a smooth game, and I want my players to be able to interact with the game without having lag time due to the lack of my upload speed. So hopefully the running the game on The Forge will do the trick. Now, I haven't actually run a game yet, as I mentioned earlier, so I don't know. I will provide some additional feedback later after I actually have some game time under my belt for the virtual tabletops. Okay, so let's go ahead and launch my Foundry from The Forge. And so instead of the virtual tabletop being physically located on my computer's hard drive, which is what I mentioned last time when you actually download the software, when you sign up for something like The Forge, that is an online server to host your game, then the software actually gets transferred over to The Forge's servers and maintained there. So one benefit of that is that your game is always available for your players to access, and it's also available for me to access wherever I choose to work on my game. So if I'm working on my laptop in my bedroom watching TV, I can access my game from there. If I am using my actual gaming computer in my basement, I can work on it from there. If my work computer wasn't blocked, I could probably work on it from there. But you get the point. And so that is one advantage of having a hosted server or a host server for your game. Of course, it costs money, and one of the reasons I went to Foundry was to try to get away from paying a monthly fee or an annual fee, which is what I do in Roll20. But for my situation, I kind of have to do this. So I'm willing to bite the bullet on the cost, because I think that there are still enough bells and whistles in the Foundry tabletop, virtual tabletop, to justify me going with this anyway, even though the cost savings isn't really there from a subscription standpoint. Okay, so this is these are all the things that I've signed up for. So when you set up your virtual tabletop, you are creating worlds that you want to run games in. And so I've created a few here. I've got one for my 5th edition game, my D&D 5th edition game called An Interior Veil. I've got a Numenera one set up here. I've got a sandbox world set up. I've got my own sandbox game that I set up, or homebrew world that I started a few years back and never finished. So I set that up here with the intention of using 13th Age as the RPG behind the campaign setting. And then at the very bottom is my Shadow of the Demon Lord game, which I simply entitled Earth. So what I would do from here is launch the world. And then this should look familiar for those of you that have played with Foundry. This is where you actually log in. So I would log in as a game master in order to work on my game. And here I am on my game. Okay, so I have the default map being the continent of Rule. And so this is actually an image that came from Schwab Entertainment, which I copied and put into my my Foundry, and I use this as the main campaign world map. Even though it's really not the best quality map, I like the feeling that it evokes. Like it looks like it's painted on a skin canvas. And that's just creepy enough to justify using a map that the details aren't really that great, but that's okay. So I have the campaign world pretty much detailed to the degree I want it detailed here, simply because I want the players to know that part of the campaign world is more technologically advanced than other parts. And so, as you can see, the Confederacy of the Nine Cities is the most technologically advanced nation, thanks to the work done out of the city of Lidge. The city of Lidge is the technological hub of the Confederacy of Nine Cities. So trains, airships, that sort of those sorts of innovations have come from Lidge predominantly. The orange lines are the roads that the Empire have built over the last 800 years, and the black lines are the railway lines that the Engineers Guild out of Lidge have built out thus far. So you can see all the cities of the Confederacy are connected by railway. There's a train that is connecting to the capital of the Holy Kingdom, Seven Spires, and there's another one that is connecting to Caicros, which is currently out of commission because of the fact that the emperor was overthrown. And then up here in the northern reach, we have also a train line going from Sixton all the way up to Foundry with some tracks heading on over to crossings as well. So an expansion of the technology has begun in Northern Reach, but the situation with the Empire has kind of put a stop to all of that. Okay, so anyway, I'm not here to talk about the campaign world. I'm here to talk about the bells and whistles of this virtual tabletop. So Foundry has a lot of cool stuff to it, and I think I talked about a lot of the interesting things from my last video. But what I learned since my last video is the fact that there are tons of improvements that you can make to your campaign setting, to the application that you're running your campaign setting on in Foundry, and the improvements are done through modules. Now, modules are actually let's see if I can pull up. Yeah, so on the Foundry virtual tabletop, the website for the Foundry virtual tabletop, where you actually initially set up your account and all that, there is a tab up, or a link up here for systems and modules. So when you go into that, you can see that it gives you a lot of information here about the different game systems that are supported, and add-on modules. So that is what I want to talk about right now. The add-on modules give you a lot of tweaks and improvements to the base software that comes with Foundry. Now, the base software that comes with Foundry is pretty good already, but there are things that you can add to it through these modules that will make your life and your players' lives easier in interfacing with the software. And so there are tons on here, and I have to say that most of them are geared towards Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and that's to be expected. I mean, that's the big dog on the playing field, and so the expectation would be that most people would be writing modules that would improve their D&D game. But there are a handful out here that also support other systems and are system agnostic. So one of them, I think I highlighted on my last one, is the pings. Yeah, when you hold down your left mouse key just to show something or highlight something on your map, that's called pings, and you get that through the pings module. So a lot of the things that I was complaining about in my last video can be gotten by choosing the correct module. Now, I have not gone through every single module, so I don't know everything that is available, but I have already added several modules to my game, and I can show you what those are. And to be honest with you, I'm not really even sure what some of these do. Because I installed them like a week and a half ago or so, and I installed them all at once, and then the update came. So I don't recall what everything does, and I haven't decided to activate them all just quite yet. But let me just show you the ones I did activate. So one of them is About Face, and I believe what that does is it enables your token to have a facing. So if you are moving your token around, and I could be totally wrong on this, but I think this is what it is. So you can see my token there, my default token there. And you can see it's got an arrow pointing, so that's the direction that the token is moving in. So if I use my arrow keys to move my token around, it will change the facing of my token. Now, that is not super important for D&D or for Shadow of the Demon Lord, because facing isn't a thing. But if you are playing a different game where facing is a thing, or maybe you want to play a war game on Foundry, then that would be a good feature to have. Ambient doors, that actually gives you door sounds when your token approaches a door and tries to open it. It will either give you the sound that the door is open, or it'll give you a sound that the door is locked. So that's pretty cool. Deselection just enables you to click on something to deselect from your token, or whatever you have selected. So you can see I have my token selected right now. I'm just clicking over here on the map somewhere else, and it deselects my token. That, unfortunately, is not a base feature of Foundry, which is why this is such a nice feature to use or to have in the module form. Dice So Nice and Dice Tray are a couple of dice features that just gives you some nice dice to have rolling whenever you roll the dice, or use an ability where the dice are rolled. And Dice Tray adds this to the chat bar. This is a dice tray where you have your 4-sided, 6-sided, 8-sided, 10-sided, 12-sided, D20, and 2D10, or percentage dice. So you can roll dice here without having to type out, roll 1D20 or whatever. You can actually just click on the D20, and if there's any modifiers, you can add those down through here. So that's a pretty neat feature. Of course, for Shadow of the Demon Lord, you don't need all these. You just need a D6 and a D20. But it's still nice to have access to all of those with the Dice Tray app, especially if you're running a game like D&D or some other game where you're using all your polyhedrals. Alrighty, so drag upload. I think it enables me to have more functionality for dragging tokens onto the map, which is one thing I complained about last time. Multi-level tokens. Now this one, I believe, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong about this one as well, but I believe if I have multiple maps and I want a token to be able to go from one map to the next, this functionality enables you to empower your token to be able to jump from one map to the next. I think. I know there's a teleportation module that does the same thing, but I believe that's what the multi-level tokens does. Reset doors and fog. That's a handy module to have. Basically, with the click of a button on my screen, I can reset the fog of war, and any doors that have been opened that were initially set as locked, you can have all of those reset just by the click of one button, which is really handy. Okay, so Token Action HUD. What that does is it provides you with a little menu of shortcuts up here. And so that means you don't have to go into your character sheet to do a challenge roll. You can just do it from the Token Action HUD or hub, which is listed right up here. Actually, it's HUD. I don't know what HUD stands for, but anyway, if you need to do a challenge roll, you can do it from there. If you need to make an attack, it lists your weapons. If you want to cast a spell, it lists your spells. And if you want some other utility, such as doing a rest or doing your toggling your combat state or invisibility, it lets you do some of that stuff there. Now, as a player, I'm not sure it'll let you do the toggle invisibility. So I'm not positive about that, but as a GM, you can definitely do that. Okay, so again, that is the Token Action HUD. Token auras. This was important to me because it was difficult for me to see my tokens. I like the top-down view tokens. I don't like the portrait, in a circle. And so as I like the actual illustration, the illustration sometimes blends into the map. And it's very difficult to see the token when you have a busy map like this one or like a city map. Like this one. So the in order to be able to differentiate your tokens from the nameless NPC, the non-combatants that may be on a map, or even to differentiate your player characters from and a potential opponent on your map. And let me close that out. And you see what I just did there? In order to show you my map, I double clicked on the name bar up here, and that shrunk it down into a nice folded up bar so that I can show you my map. All right, so and I have a couple of examples that I've done here. So and I actually started doing this in Roll20 for my games, just to make it easier on me, so that I know which tokens are the enemy and versus which ones are the PCs. And so for all my enemies, I put an aura around them. Now, an aura is not, at least I don't think it's baked into the core system. And so I chose that Token Auras module to enable me to provide a black background or a red background to the tokens that I'm using as my NPCs or my combatants. For NPCs that are not necessarily against the heroes, I've been using a purple background. And then for the actual PCs, I use a colored background that is not red or purple. Usually I'll use blue, but sometimes I will coincide the color with the color that is assigned to the player when they actually join the game. So I like having an aura on the tokens that are actually doing something, so that you don't have to waste time hunting, searching through the map to try to find the right tokens. Okay, so in order to set the the aura, you first have to download the module and get that installed. But once you have it installed, then it's fairly simple. You actually pull up your tokens configuration, go to the image, and then you just set the tokens aura color and the size of the token, and how opaque you want it to be. This is where you get the different color numbers. I'm sure you don't know what these color numbers. I sure don't. So you just click on this bar right here or this bar right here. This is actually the tint, and that would tint the entire token, which I don't usually want to do. So that's why I have that blank. But in order to have an aura, as you can see, I've selected blue, and I've applied it to this particular token. And then I would update it. So let me just go ahead and close that out. Alrighty, so what else can we do in Foundry for a Shadow the Demon Lord game? Let's take a look at one of the maps that I have drawn out here. And as you can see, this is a tower by the great artist Gabriel Picard. I've got tons of his maps. And so this is a tower prison. And so as you can see, there's a few things that we have going on here. So we've got NPCs that are kind of laying around inside the prison cells. We've got, excuse me, some tokens already out here. And then we've got a couple of icons just floating in the air over here. Now these are actually door icons. So for the Fog of War, just like in Roll20, you can set up a Fog of War, and you can also set up dynamic lighting. And I have dynamic lighting set up here. You do the dynamic lighting through the lighting or the wall controls over here. So when you click on that, that's where you draw the different lines to to be able to stop line of sight and to tell the lighting, the dynamic lighting, where the light should flow through and what should be blocked. So some cool things about the wall feature here in this application. is that it enables you to do not only solid walls like Roll20 does, but it also enables you to do doors. Now, doors are denoted here as the bluish green color, and no, I'm sorry, the red color is the doors, and the bluish green color is actually it's an invisible door, so it will not let your character's tokens go through it, but they can see through it, which is a huge improvement over what Roll20 has to offer. Whenever you use a wall or a door line in Roll20's dynamic lighting, it will block the light regardless of whether it's a window or whether it's a set of bars like this. You wouldn't be able to see past the line that you drew. But in Foundry, these blue-green lines are see-through. They're invisible walls or invisible doors. So, actually, I believe it's an invisible wall. Yeah, invisible wall. So that's what I'm using so that the player characters can't go through it, but they can see through it. Now, these red ones, they cannot see through. These are the actual doors. And when you draw a door, you can tell it whether it is a locked door or if it is an unlocked door. And that's what you were seeing over in the other layer. These locks indicate that those red lines that were drawn here are doors that are locked. So if a player character tries to go up to one of these doors and bypass it, they can't. But they can right-click on it, and they can open it up if it is set to unlock, or if it is locked, then they can try to make a skill check to get the door locked that is locked to unlock. In which case, the DM just simply goes in here, clicks on it, and right-clicks on it, and the door is now unlocked, and the player character's token can now interact with the door better. I thought it would enable them to go through the door, but apparently not. So looks like I still have some playing around to do with this to figure out how some of these things work. But anyway, at any rate, I love the door. Oh, there we go. Now the door is open. So there we're talking. Okay, so now the player characters can go through if they open the unlocked door. As long as it's locked, they can't open it. And I don't know if you're hearing the sounds, but the sounds of a door being unlocked and opened are going through my headset right now because of another module that I have set up, which is the where did I put it? It's over here. Which is the where is it? It is the door. Ambient doors. I mentioned that earlier. So that's a pretty cool feature. I love the door feature. It is just a great addition to virtual tabletops. Okay, so those are just some of the modules that I've added to make my Shadow of the Demon Lord game easier on me, and to add some functionality that would be cool for the player characters. Okay, so you might also be noticing a little bit of flickering going on here. That's because I've set it so that there is a torchlight that is illuminating this area, and you can set the torchlight to flicker like a torch, which is super cool. You can also do it. You can also do some other special effects with the lighting if you want to, but you kind of have to play with that. The lighting settings. You click on the lighting icon over here, and you can see this is the lighting setting that I dragged and dropped here. And you can turn it on and off by clicking on the token. I believe, you can also access the configuration by double clicking on it, and then you can change the animation type. So right now you can see I have it set on torch. If I set it on mysterious emanation, then it would look a little bit different. And I'm not really noticing anything. Oh, maybe I gotta update my light source. Okay, well, nothing happened there. So let me just try something else out. Animation type. Let's do rolling mass. Yeah, something happened there. Chroma. Well, this isn't giving you the. Oh, there's a cool one. That's a pulsing wave. So anyway, there are different animations on here, but I'm going to stick with the torch because that's what torches are for. And I want to make sure light. I'm not even sure if this is what you do. Whoa, don't want that. Okay, so let's get back to something a little bit more normal. And clearly I need to play with this some more so that this is not overwhelming my game. Alrighty. So, let's just turn that off for now. I'm going to have to play with that some more to figure out how to get it to work the way I want it to work. But if I can't get it to work, I can always get rid of it. And I can always put a new light source right there. And it should populate that icon. All right, you're making me look like a fool here, people. And that's not hard to do. All right, so at any rate, that is how it's supposed to work. But, here we go. Oh, okay, I know what I did. Hey, figured it out, people. All right, so you need to size the light source. So let me get rid of that. All right, so you can't just drag it out here. You have to draw it. So I want this light source to be a good torch emanation. So I'm going to do a template that is, let's say, 5 squares by 5 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's start from here. Let's see here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And I have it set for some reason to be angled, and I don't want it angled. I want 360 degree. Well, it's set at 360. All right, so let's get off that page and see what it looks like. Okay, so from a tokens perspective, you can see that it is shining light on this side, but not on this side. So I actually need to fix that. And I'm not really sure how, so I'm just going to play with it a little bit more and see if I can get this thing to work for me. Okay. I do not want it. Do you want 30? Do you want a torch? All right, so yeah. Anyway, you can see that the Game Master obviously has some more tinkering to do with the software to get it to work. Oh, okay. For some reason, now that works. And it's 360. Oh, maybe it was because it was up here. Yep, that's what it is. All right, it's all in the placement, ladies and gentlemen. Woohoo! All right, so sorry that you had to go through that. If I were one to edit my videos, I would edit that out, but I'm not going to, so sorry about that. Anyway, so we have the lighting set up here. We just need to turn it on, and now you can see the flickering going on again. All right, let's move on. I spent way too much time on that. But as you can see from a token perspective, if you click on a token, you can see from its perspective, and you can see the light going out to the distance that I had set. And then, this token has dim vision, so it can see a little bit, it can see farther out. Okay, so what else do we have going here in Foundry? I think last time I talked about the cool things that you can do in the tokens actions. Now, I come to find out that some of these things are not available for player characters. So, for example, the toggle visibility is not available to them. The assign status effects is available to them. So is the toggle combat state, and so is the targeter and the elevation. The health bar and the insanity bar are also included in this. What's not included is the toggle visibility or the configuration tool. Since I'm GM, I have those, but the player characters would not. Okay, so one other thing that I found out is that this system is set up so that you can actually have it so that in combat, when a player character targets a monster and does an attack that hits the monster and damages the monster, that all of those things can happen without the GM having to, do math and subtract the damage from the monster's hit points, and having to open the character sheet or try to figure out how to do the damage up on the token. All of that can be easily managed through the targeting system. So let's say that my goblin character here, Dirte, is going to attack this skeleton. So what Dirte would do is select the target button over here from the left sidebar, and then he would select his target. And you can see the target is selected by these in-pointing orange arrows. So now, once Dirte does an attack, the attack would affect the skeleton. Now, my skeleton already has stats assigned to it. So it already has its health, it already has its defense. So all of those things are built into this token. And so when Dirte does an attack on this skeleton, if his attack is successful, then it would automatically apply the damage to the skeleton's token. So let's try that out and see how that works. So he's going to use a bow and try to shoot at that skeleton. And let's just give him 2 boons for the hell of it, because I want the attack to hit. Okay, so that is pathetic. All right, so Dirte rolls a 12 total when you add up all of the modifiers, including the boons. And as you can see over here in the chat bar, it already knows that the skeleton's defense is 8 because I have assigned the skeleton a character sheet and I input the defense is 8, and that value carried over to the skeleton. So now all Dirte needs to do is roll damage, and the skeleton now has 3 points of damage applied to it once we apply the damage. Now this gives you the option of applying the damage to the target, applying double damage to the target. So if there was some sort of special attack or some sort of special something that your GM gave that enables you to double your damage, then you can apply that. You can click on this bar to apply double damage rather than just the normal damage. Conversely, if the skeleton is resistant to the damage, then rather than applying the full damage and then taking half, you can just apply half damage directly through selecting this option. So all this pops up automatically when you make an attack. And as you can see, my skeleton, who has 8 defense and 10 health, once we apply the damage, it should subtract, or it should add it to the skeleton's damage bar, but for some reason it is not. So again, that's yet another thing I'm going to have to figure out and find out why it's not doing that. Okay, so at any rate, that should happen. So once I figure out how to get that to work right, then that will be a super awesome time saver for the GM, because now I don't have to keep track of damage. The attacks and damages are automatically tracked by the virtual tabletop, which is awesome. That's what automation should be all about. So if I can just figure this part out, we'll be gold or golden. Alrighty then. So let's just go ahead and close this out. And so I definitely wanted to point that out. Let me see what else should we talk about here. I think I mentioned last time the combat tracker. If I didn't, then shame on me, because that's a big feature for Shadow the Demon Lord to highlight the initiative system. So let's say my goblin here, Dirte, is ready for combat. He's going to attack the skeleton. So in order to get up on the turn order, that's what this toggle combat state is for. So you click the toggle combat state, and Dirte is now up on the board, and it defaults to slow for him. But if he wants to actually go fast, all you got to do is to click on the word slow, and it'll change to fast. If you change your mind and want to actually go slow first, then you click on the word fast, and it'll change to slow. It is simple as that. Okay, so, and the same thing happens with the GM wanting to add the monsters to the combat as well. All right, so I may have just answered my own question, so let's just try this out. So Mr. Dirte, and let's do some combat here. Mr. Dirte is going to do an attack on the skeleton. So we have the targeter selected, right? Okay, so Dirte all right, so Dirte is going to do an attack. So utility rest. Okay, so we've started combat. All right, so let me get Dirte's character sheet out here. All right, so I'm not sure why the combat options aren't up here. At any rate, so I want to do an attack. So let's see if this works. So I shoot a bow at the skeleton. That should hit, because the skeleton's defense is 8, so that's exactly what I needed. Now I roll my damage, and I get a 4. Apply the damage to the skeleton. And now you can see that the skeleton's health bar is starting to go up. It's reflecting the 4 damage that it just took. So it looks like for that to work, you actually have to be in a combat. So I guess that makes sense. Alrighty then. So let's just get rid of all this. And go back to the turn order. So as you can see, it's all on the left sidebar. So if you want to bust any of these out into a separate window, just right click on the token up here and it will pull the combat tracker out so that it's not, you don't have to bounce back and forth between it and the chat. Okay, so we keep going and you'll notice that it tracks the rounds as you go between the two combatants. Now we're on round 3. And then, once one of them's dead, you end the combat by clicking on End Combat here, which is pretty cool. All right, so let's end that. So I think I showed you when I made an attack. When I made an attack before, I clicked on the dagger and it shows the attack roll to add boons or banes. So you can add boons by adding a positive number. You can add banes by adding a negative number and then clicking roll, and then that would apply your boons and banes as appropriate. Okay, so what else do I want to highlight? So I think I showed you the character sheet here a moment ago. So let's go back to the character sheet, and that's under the Actors tab. And we want to take a look at how the character sheet works. And I think I looked through this some before. All right, so looks like Dirte has 12 points of damage here. All right, so if Dirte were to be healed, then all you need to do is to right-click or left-click, on the damage, and that will reduce the damage down to 0. If you right-click on the damage, left-click on the damage, it will increase until you max out, and then if you keep going, it'll take it back down to 0. However, if you already have damage and want to reduce it, then you right-click on it, and it will go the opposite direction. It'll go down for one number for each click, each right-click that you make. Same thing for insanity. Left-click increases insanity, right-click reduces insanity, and same for corruption. Okay, so what else do we want to highlight here? The compendium. I think I highlighted this last time, but it bears pointing out again because this is super, super handy. Of course, Shadow of the Demon Lord does not have a compendium, a formal compendium in the virtual tabletop. There's not in one in Roll20 either. It does come baked in, however, in Foundry with a few things that you can use to help making characters and monsters easier. And so the tabs that are in parentheses as Demon Lord, those are the ones that come baked into the Shadow of the Demon Lord system in Foundry. The ones that say world are ones that I've created. So I have created spell tradition folders for the spell traditions that my player characters may utilize. So just yesterday, one of my players decided on running a spell guard, and so he chose his tradition to be the fire tradition. So what I did was I created a folder, and I created actually put in all of the different spells in the folder. Now, what I didn't do, and what I should have done, is when I named them, I should have put the rank of the spell so that at a glance you can see what rank it is. And I did that in some of the other folders that I did. So this is rank 0. These are the rank 1 spells and so forth. So I will have to go back into the fire one and do that as well. But at any rate, that is one super cool feature of this application, so that you can customize the compendium for the things that you need to make your game easier. So now, if my player wants to pick anything from the fire tradition, he just goes, clicks on the spell tradition fire folder, and then drags and drops the spell he wants into his magic tab, or actually just onto the character sheet, and it'll update the magic tab with the spell, like so. Super cool, love it. That's one of the things that I really dig about this software. Okay, so what else about character sheets? There's a tab for different parts of the character sheet. You kind of have to just play with those. The talents tab, talents come from your path or from your ancestry, so you would type those in there. And then, of course, if you want them to show up on the chat bar, you just hover your mouse over it and you click on it, and then it'll put the description over here in the chat bar, like so. Shadow sight, yeah, there we go. All right, I already did the magic tab, your inventory tab for all the stuff that you pick up along the way, and then your background tab is just a free-flowing field that you can type, as much information for your background as you see fit. All right, so in order to use this character sheet, you can have it open like this if you choose to do so. But like I said, a lot of the functionality is already built into your token, so that you don't have to. You don't have to actually have your character sheet open. So I'm actually wondering if this is a bug, because I see all the things here now, but when I was in combat, I didn't. So let's try it out. Let's add him back to the combat. All right, so we are back to combat. And Dirte is selected. And no, it's all up there, so I'm not sure why I wasn't showing completely before, but we got her now. So with the skeleton selected, I should be able just to hit him with a dagger or bow. And be good to go. So that should be a hit. Yep. Roll damage, a D3. Apply the damage to the target. And I think that's what I rolled last time. So I'm still thinking that it has to be done during the combat, when you activate the combat. But anyway, these are things that you learn when you are actually playing a game, and you are forced to figure it out during the game session. And so that is what I hope to be able to come back after having run this and tell you, what's clunky, what's working well, what is something that you have to get proficient at in order for it to not be clunky, and that sort of thing. Okay, so I think I've done most everything. Let's see, I don't know. Yeah, okay, maybe spell templates. I don't know if I covered this last time, but it comes with built-in spell templates over here. Or targeting templates. So your circle, it would be your circle template. So if you have a fireball that is, you can set it to the right dimensions. Let's say it's 5 by 5 or a 5-yard radius. There you go. There's your fireball. And I want to say that you can play with it, but that might be a module that you download to actually put some art in the template to denote fire, or something like that. So if you picked up some art packets on somewhere else like DriveThruRPG or Roll20 for fireballs and stuff, you should be able to attach them to this to make it a little bit more, add a little bit more pizzazz to it. But as you can see, not only does it draw the circle but it also has the squares that are affected by the spell laid out behind the circle. Pretty cool stuff. And then, of course, you have your cone. Excuse me. Got the hiccups. You got a cone template, and you got a square template. Excuse me. This is just a fantastic video I'm producing here. All stops have been pulled out on this one. All right, and then the line. Most lines are 5 feet wide. So you just draw it out like so. Okay, so all of those are cool. To get rid of the templates, you just highlight the center of the template and you hit the delete button and they are gone. All right, so I wanted to show that because that's pretty cool. I don't know if I showed you the game paused feature down here, but if you hit the game pause, I believe what that does is it stops the player characters from being able to interact with their tokens and possibly even their character sheets until the game is unpaused. I'm not positive about that. That's something I will figure out when we actually do a game session. Alrighty, so that I think now wraps up everything that I wanted to cover. See if there was anything else. All right, so let's get rid of everything in the chat log. Yes, so we start from scratch. Oh, I don't know if I showed you this when I was talking about the about the dice down here. There's also a way to make your rolls show up differently. So you can make all your rolls public, or you can change it to a private GM roll, a blind GM roll, or a self roll. So that is a neat little thing here. You can export your chat log if you want to keep it for posterity's sake. And then here's just a simple D20 roller or another dice roller, actually, that enables you to select how many dice you want to roll. So there's 3d6. All right, cool. So this just rolls one die. So clicking on this will enable you to roll multiple dice simply by picking the number and the dice that you want. It's pretty nifty. Alrighty, so that is pretty much it. That's a lot of information already, but I think I highlighted some of the things that were bothering me from the last video that are no longer bothering me. Now, the things that are still bothering me right now is more of a learning curve thing. The targeting, getting that figured out. When attacks actually work versus when they don't work, that sort of thing. So, those are the things that I want to figure out during an actual game, and then I'll come back and talk to you about how that went. But my game's still not for another month or so, so it'll be a while. In the meantime, I'll probably do a different video on a different subject because I do want to talk about some of the rules that I'm going to be highlighting in my next campaign, and the one of the things that since it's going to be based more on horror than fantasy in my next game, I want to really utilize the insanity rules to their full effect. And so I believe that my next video may be about insanity, but we'll see. I might surprise you with something else, but for now, that's what's on my mind. So with that, let me go ahead and wrap up this video, and thank you all for watching once again. Just as a reminder, I do these videos for funsies, but also to spread the word of Shadow of the Demon Lord, because there's not a whole lot of videos out there where the game is just kind of dissected and talked about, and I really enjoy those types of videos. And since there's not really any, or very many, if any, videos like that out there for Shadow of the Demon Lord, I decided to create one, even though I suck. So, so there you go. I do this on my own. I don't have a Patreon. I don't ask for money. I don't really want money, but I do want visibility. So if you could like the video, that would be great. That helps increase the visibility on the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to leave a suggestion or a comment on the video, that's always nice too. hate mail or fan mail, whatever. Um, I'll read it all. If you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, I will also take that in consideration, as long as it's for something that I like. And I do these videos for things that I like. So there you go. If you ask me to do a topic on how to set up a business and run a business in Shadow of the Demon Lord, I'll probably say no thanks, not interested. That sounds terribly dull to me. Okie dokie then. So with that, I will let you go, and I will see you on my next video. As usual, big shout out and a hail to the Demon Lord, Mr. Schwab, for putting this game together for us to enjoy. Alrighty, thank you very much, and I will catch you next time.